All right, everyone, the palpable joy that must be oozing from every pore among everyone that supports Trump at the highest levels, at this point it must be a palpable sort of thing, because the other day, Pelosi just handed on a golden platter a huge win to Trump. And I almost think, hear me out here, I almost think it's to distract people from the impeachment fiasco. Impeachment has gone so poorly. If you look at the latest round of polling over the last week or so for Trump, his approval is actually spiking. It's arguably now hitting highs that it hasn't seen since the first few months of his presidency. He's up near 45 in YouGov, Rasmussen aside. It looks like his approval has been continuously climbing. He was already at like 44.5 a few days ago, and that's in the aggregate. Keep in mind, RCP aggregate, that's a good thing to use. Anything else is bullshit. Don't use a single polling firm. Nate Silver skews his polling results to disastrous effect. As we saw in 2016, I don't trust him anymore. I trust RCP. I still wish they would get rid of their ad-blocking bullshit. But a USMCA trade deal has now gone through the House. The Democrats negotiated with Trump, and this was blindsided everyone. It wasn't even being spoken about. They negotiated with him, threw a few things in, and passed the UMCA now. Now, the thing is, if it can get through the House with bipartisan support, that's great. But what does this signal in terms of the dynamic between Pelosi and Trump? Especially when she openly bragged about this, like on her Twitter. She's like, oh yeah, it was with Democrats' help, we have improved the USMCA trade deal to be better for American families and stuff. Trump is the main name associated with the USMCA. The Democrats didn't even want him to hammer this out, negotiate it, and on his end sort of sign off on it because he was bypassing Congress to just talk to the leadership of Mexico and Canada and got something done. Months and months beforehand, when he was merely suggesting it, everyone said it couldn't be done. Trump doesn't have the finesse. Trump is stupid. He doesn't know how to do diplomacy. Trudeau will stop him. He'll never agree to a trade deal. Well, he did. The far-left leader of Canada, who's arguably almost a lame duck, and the leadership of Mexico, of all places, got on board before Congress did. Then the Republicans got on board. The Democrats have sat on it for over a year. Pelosi wouldn't bring it for a vote. She said initially, weeks ago, she said she didn't anticipate the USMCA being done before next year because they were too busy with impeachment. Here's what this symbolizes. There would be no reason whatsoever, in any way, shape, or form, for Pelosi and the Democratic Party to strike a deal with Trump, giving him a piece of signature legislation. However they alter it, it's still the USMCA. Perception over reality. The Democrats are either totally dumb, or Pelosi's trying to cover up a wound that's even more imposing, which is the fact that impeachment is failing. I think it's the latter. She's not that dumb. She knows what she's doing. She looked and she said, impeachment is so unpopular now. It is grinding our support down so much and giving Trump so much free ammunition. We have no choice but to cover it up. They're going to rush through impeachment. They're going to spike it to the Senate. McConnell has already agreed to wait until after the winter recess. I don't know why he doesn't start proceedings first, so that people can go into the vacation muttering about the impeachment process instead of the USMCA. He's playing ball with the Democrats on a way that I don't think is wise. It's not a big game changer, but there's no reason not to constantly rant about it. If you look, though, giving the USMCA to Trump is telling, because if they expected him to be removed from office, not just impeachment, if they expected Trump to be gone not long after the winter recess, why the hell would they give the Republicans the victory of passing the USMCA through the House with bipartisan support? They wouldn't. All this shows me is that Pelosi no longer takes her own impeachment attempt seriously. She was forced into impeachment by the far left because Trump was wise enough to antagonize them endlessly until they demanded that their party impeach. She called a vote after inquiries she didn't even want to hold. And they've advanced the agenda now so that you have one final vote after the last phase of them bickering about the actual charges. It looks like it's going to be obstruction of Congress, which is laughable. Totally fucking laughable. And abuse of power, which is so malleable, subjective, and extra legal that it almost doesn't matter. It's DOA in the Senate. Pelosi may have the votes to impeach Trump. But there are a group of I think 10 or 11 Democrats now that are muttering about the possibility of not voting to impeach. I believe that's enough to prevent him from being impeached, actually. and they're hoping to get some Republican support. There's this group of Democrats in Trump districts that's talking about, well, maybe we'll just censure him. We won't impeach him. Dude, all hell would break loose. And that's probably the best of all possibilities for the Dems. And the best chance they have is to drop impeachment, censure him in order to maintain party loyalty. No Democrats would vote against mere censure, and they'd probably have some never-Trumpers voting for it. It would look a lot better for them if they take that easy way out, and even that's like halfway putting the noose around their neck for the 2020 election, because it makes them look weak. It still doesn't appease the far left, but it might kind of sort of appease the center left enough to keep them on board with the Dems party. The USMCA has been, since the early days of Build the Wall and Reform the VA and a few other things, the early wave of Trump's strategy and policy and platform. Other than that, the USMCA has been one of the big ones. That and the looming Chinese trade deal that he's hoping to hammer out as quickly as possible. We'll see if Congress even allows him to pass it at this point. I would say this. If you believe that we need to keep moving the country forward economically and maintain what we've had over the last few years, which is generally peace, we're not in any major conflicts, we're not in any major troop buildups, there's some hot rhetoric involving Iran that hasn't led to any on-the-ground changes, and with Korea we've got an attempt at least at peace. If we want to keep the peace train moving to the extent that it's possible within mainline politics in the West anyway, and the economy growing, we have to re-elect Donald Trump at this point. What I'm being offered as an alternative is nothing more than Pelosi's haranguing bitter biddiness and the stupidity of candidates who obviously are not strategic geniuses. They obviously are not business geniuses. These people are dropping like flies Kamala style because they are stupid. Bernie Sanders does not know how to govern a country. Elizabeth Warren does not know how to govern a country. Joe Biden kind of understands it. The problem is he seems to have forgotten over the last few years. His dementia is so advanced now sometimes he doesn't know what fucking state he's in. He was over in Iowa claiming it was New Hampshire. When he was in New Hampshire, he thought he was in Vermont. At what point do we say go out to pasture? Go and spend the last few years of your life in a demented age. Give him some rum. Give him some fucking medical marijuana and keep him high and happy until he keels over. At what point are the Democrats going to cut loose idiots like Bloomberg? Bloomberg, he comes in at 4%, stalls out. The only thing he's accomplished is stopping Buttigieg from having his day in the sun in order to actually expose himself to the population, pun not intended by the way, sorry about that mental image, in order to actually gain enough popularity to raise up to viability. He's fallen back below double digits. Buttigieg has begun to fall, just as I predicted would probably happen. The Democrats have probably lost 2020 because of Michael Bloomberg and because of the insistence of the DNC in whining and dining and playing with the far left. They insist upon appeasing this tiny but very vocal minority within the party that has a lot of youth voting appeal that nonetheless on election day won't fucking matter. It's not going to materialize outside of urban areas in states the Democrats reliably hold. They're trading every swing state right now for the far left states that they've already won. They would rather retain California, New York, and retire from the battlefield with solemnity and dignity. They would rather do that than actually get down in the trenches and fight Trump for Michigan, or fight him for North Carolina, which is why they'll probably lose these states. You've got battleground polling. I'll be talking about this separately. In Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, the Democrats arguably in some polling have already fallen behind a man who can barely hit 45% approval. And that's in a matchup against Joe Biden, the strongest of the Dems, who is incoherent and will sabotage himself at the debates. Trump has won everything. He gets the USMCA that the Democrats swore up and down initially wouldn't even be made. Then they swore it would be a piece of shit. Then they swore they would table it until next year. All of a sudden, Pelosi says, hey, we've reached a deal. Yeah, it's 99% the fucking same, but we get to put our names on it. Look, we're doing something responsible. Because sitting on the USMCA was hurting them. And impeachment is hurting them. I wouldn't be surprised if Pelosi and the Democrats conjure up something else to try to take the public's eye off of the impeachment that they themselves unwillingly started because AOC wouldn't fucking drop the issue. She sat there farting in frustration for days and days, demanding that Pelosi bring forward impeachment to remove evil, gorgonic, Hitler-esque orange man bad, and Pelosi knew it was a bad idea. Trump saw this and said, this is going to be easy, and wheedled at AOC and her crowd, the Illinois, the self-righteous goofballs that want to run the party but don't know how to do so. He wheedled and antagonized them until they managed to essentially stage a small-level coup within the Democratic Party, spooking the neoliberals and forcing impeachment onto the table. Trump is glad that this is happening. He's not afraid of impeachment. He hopes he gets impeached. Here's the level of priority. First priority, the thing he would like most is that they bring impeachment to the floor, a bunch of Democrats vote against and narrowly manage to stop it. Trump wins 2020 same day. The second order priority, which I think is the most likely, is they impeach him, but a few Democrats don't vote for it. It makes them look like a chaotic mess. It punishes a bunch of down-ballot House Dems. It raises Trump's approval by a point or two, really sets him up well in the battleground states where impeachment is legendarily unpopular because it's seen as a distraction. He gets a mandate for the next year to do what he actually needs to do and runs roughshod over the Democrats. He regains that same energy and momentum he had in 2015. That's what I think is going to happen. It's also possible they impeach him, the Democrats are stalwart, and it just fizzles out because it's DOA in the Senate looks partisan. But there's no chance of removal at this point. There's a 0% chance of Trump being forced out of office. The Democrats, at the party leadership level understand this. The AOC types, of course, don't. That's about all. Peace out.